A billionaire walks into a room and doesn't introduce himself. A master craftsman never advertises his skills. A truly confident man doesn't try to prove his confidence. What do these men understand that the rest of the world has completely backwards? They know something that would make most men's heads spin. The more desperately you want something, the further away it moves. The harder you chase, the faster it runs. The more you need it, the more it eludes you. This isn't philosophy. It's the iron law of human psychology that governs everything from attraction to wealth to respect. Most men live their entire lives fighting against this law, wondering why their desperate efforts produce the opposite of what they want. They chase women who lose interest. They chase money that slips through their fingers. They chase respect that turns into mockery. And nobody, not their fathers, not society, not the self-help gurus, ever tells them why. The uncomfortable truth is that everything our culture teaches men about power is backwards. We're told to be aggressive pursuers, to go after what we want, to never give up, to push harder. But Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most profound thinkers on the nature of power, understood something revolutionary. Real power doesn't come from chasing. It comes from becoming the kind of man others naturally gravitate toward. Before we go deeper into this life-changing insight, I want you to do something. If you're the kind of man who's tired of living by other people's rules, who suspects there's a deeper way to understand masculine power, comment sovereign below. This isn't just about engagement. It's about identifying yourself as someone ready to break free from the desperate chase that keeps most men weak and unfulfilled. The men who truly understand this principle form a different breed entirely. Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But most people completely misunderstand what he meant. They think it's about grinding through hardship, about pushing through pain to achieve external goals. That's the chaser's interpretation. What Nietzsche actually understood was that true strength comes from developing such internal completeness that you no longer need the external world to validate your worth. Here's where it gets interesting. Nietzsche introduced the concept of the Übermensch, often mistranslated as Superman, but really meaning the man who has transcended ordinary human needs for external validation. This isn't about being better than others in some competitive sense. It's about becoming so fundamentally secure in yourself that you operate from abundance rather than scarcity. Think about the most naturally attractive people you know. Not the ones trying hardest to be attractive, the ones who just are. They're not chasing attention. Attention finds them. They're not desperate for approval. Their self-approval is so solid that others naturally want to be around them. They've mastered what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, which means they're so at peace with who they are and where they are that they radiate an irresistible magnetic presence. Now let me destroy a myth that's keeping millions of men trapped in weakness. Society tells us that masculine power means conquest, conquering women, conquering markets, conquering competitors. But conquest implies that something outside yourself has power over you, that you need to take it by force because you don't naturally possess it. The man who needs to conquer is the man who doesn't understand his own inherent worth. Nietzsche saw through this illusion completely. He understood that the highest form of power is what he called will to power, not power over others, but power over yourself. The ability to be so self-determined, so internally directed, that you become a force of nature rather than a reactor to circumstances. Here's what this looks like in practice. The man who doesn't chase women becomes infinitely more attractive to women because he's not needy, not desperate, not trying to extract validation from them. His completeness makes him magnetic. The man who doesn't chase money stops making financial decisions from fear and scarcity, which paradoxically makes him far more capable of creating wealth. The man who doesn't chase status stops performing for others and starts living authentically, which gives him a natural authority that no amount of trying could ever manufacture. But here's where most people get confused. They think not chasing means being passive, giving up, not caring about outcomes. That's not what Nietzsche meant at all. The difference is between acting from abundance versus acting from scarcity. When you chase, you're acting from, I don't have, or I'm not enough. When you don't chase but still act powerfully, you're operating from, I am complete, and my actions flow from that completeness. Nietzsche called this the difference between slave morality and master morality. Slave morality is reactive. It's defined by what it lacks, what it resents, what it needs from others. Master morality is creative. It's defined by its own values, its own vision, its own internal compass. The chaser operates from slave morality, always reacting to what others have that he doesn't. The non-chaser operates from master morality, creating his own reality from his own abundant core. Let me give you a concrete example. You know that guy who's always posting about his accomplishments on social media? Always talking about his wins, his progress, his achievements? He's chasing validation. He needs others to see him as successful because he doesn't truly feel successful inside. Compare that to the man who's genuinely accomplished but rarely talks about it. His achievements speak for themselves because he doesn't need them to prop up his identity. He acts from completeness. This principle extends to every area of life. In relationships, the man who doesn't chase creates space for genuine connection because he's not trying to fill a void in himself through another person. In career, the man who doesn't chase success paradoxically becomes more successful because he makes decisions from clarity rather than desperation. In personal development, the man who doesn't chase improvement stops trying to fix what's wrong with himself and starts building from what's already strong. Nietzsche understood that most human suffering comes from what he called resentment. Resentment born from comparing yourself to others and finding yourself lacking. The chaser is always in resentment because he's always aware of what others have that he doesn't. But the man who has transcended the need to chase has also transcended resentment. He's not comparing because he's not competing. He's creating his own game entirely. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in the real world. Take dating. The average man approaches dating like a desperate salesman. He tries to convince women of his value through his achievements, his status symbols, his carefully crafted online persona. He's essentially saying, "Please validate me. Please choose me. Please see me as worthy." This energy is repulsive because it reeks of neediness. Now contrast that with the man who has internalized Nietzsche's wisdom. He doesn't approach women to get something from them. He doesn't need their validation because his self-worth isn't up for negotiation. When he interacts with women, he's offering his authentic presence, not trying to extract approval. Women sense this immediately. They feel safe around him because he's not trying to take anything from them. He's complete in himself. The same principle applies to business and career advancement. Most men chase promotions by trying to impress their bosses, working excessive hours to prove their dedication, constantly seeking recognition for their efforts. They're operating from the assumption that their worth must be proven to others. This creates an energy of desperation that actually repels the very opportunities they're seeking. The man who embodies Nietzsche's principles approaches his career differently. He focuses on becoming exceptionally good at what he does, not to impress others, but because excellence is an expression of his character. He doesn't chase promotions. He becomes the kind of person who naturally rises. He doesn't seek recognition. He becomes so valuable that recognition becomes inevitable. His worth isn't dependent on his position. His position becomes dependent on his worth. But here's where it gets really profound. Nietzsche understood that this transformation requires what he called the eternal recurrence, the ability to live as if you would have to repeat your exact life infinite times. Would you still choose your actions if you had to live them forever? The chaser would be horrified by this idea because his life is driven by future outcomes, not present authenticity. The man who doesn't chase welcomes eternal recurrence because his actions come from his authentic nature, not from desperate attempts to change his circumstances. He's not living for some future payoff. He's living as an expression of who he truly is. This gives him a presence, a groundedness that others find magnetic. Think about the men you most respect in your life. I guarantee they're not the ones constantly talking about their goals, their ambitions, their plans for the future. They're the ones who are so present, so authentic, so comfortable in their own skin that being around them feels like coming home to yourself. This is why Nietzsche emphasized the importance of creating your own values rather than adopting society's values. Most men are chasing things they don't even really want. They want them because they've been told these things will make them happy, successful, respected. But happiness, success, and respect that come from external sources are always temporary and always insufficient. The man who doesn't chase has done the deep work of figuring out what actually matters to him, not what he thinks should matter to him. He's developed what Nietzsche called intellectual honesty, the courage to admit when he's been lying to himself about what he really values. But the freedom that comes from this honesty is extraordinary. When you're no longer chasing things that don't align with your authentic nature, You discover that you have energy and focus you never knew existed. You stop exhausting yourself, trying to be someone you're not, and start excelling at being who you actually are. Here's a practical example that will make this crystal clear. Most men approach fitness like chasers. They set arbitrary goals, lose 20 pounds, bench press their body weight, run a marathon, and then torture themselves trying to achieve these external markers of success. They hate the process. They're miserable throughout the journey. And even if they achieve their goals, the satisfaction is temporary. The man who embodies Nietzsche's wisdom approaches fitness completely differently. He doesn't exercise to achieve a specific outcome. He exercises because movement is an expression of his vitality, his aliveness, his commitment to honoring his body. The results he achieves are often superior to the chaser's results, but they come as a natural byproduct of authentic self-expression, rather than desperate goal chasing. Here's another uncomfortable truth. The reason most men never discover this kind of power is because it requires facing something terrifying, the possibility that you might already be enough. If you're already enough, then all that chasing, all that striving, all that desperate pursuit might be unnecessary. And for a man whose entire identity is built around being the pursuer, that's an existential crisis. This is where Nietzsche's concept of the abyss becomes relevant. He wrote, "When you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." The abyss is the recognition that most of what we've been told about success, happiness, and fulfillment is a lie. It's the terrifying realization that we might have been chasing mirages our entire lives. Most men run from this abyss. They double down on their chasing. They get busier. They chase harder and faster to avoid the uncomfortable questions. But the men who find true power do something different. They stare into the abyss until they realize that it's not actually an abyss at all. It's the doorway to freedom. When you stop running from the possibility that you might already be complete, when you stop avoiding the question of whether your desperate pursuits are actually making you happy, you discover something revolutionary. The peace you've been chasing was never somewhere else. It was always right here, obscured by all your chasing. But this realization requires what Nietzsche called the death of God. Not literally, but the death of external authorities that tell you what you should want, who you should be, how you should live. Most men never achieve true power because they never stop outsourcing their self-worth to others. The man who doesn't chase has killed these false gods. He's taken responsibility for creating his own meaning, his own values, his own definition of what constitutes a life well lived. This doesn't make him selfish or antisocial. It makes him authentic. And authenticity is magnetic in a way that performance never can be. Let me give you another concrete example. Consider two entrepreneurs. The first is driven by external validation. He wants to prove his worth through achievement. His business decisions are driven by emotional needs, rather than clear thinking about what creates value. The second entrepreneur has done the inner work. He's honest about why he's building a business. Maybe it's because he loves solving problems, enjoys the creative challenge, or wants freedom. His motivations are clear and authentic. This clarity allows him to make better decisions because he's not clouded by emotional needs for validation. Which entrepreneur is more likely to succeed? The first radiates desperation, even when he tries to hide it. The second radiates confidence and clarity. People can sense the difference immediately. This principle extends to every relationship in your life. When you're chasing approval from your friends, your family, your romantic partners, you create a dynamic where they have power over you. Your mood, your self-esteem, your sense of worth becomes dependent on their responses to you. But when you've done the work of becoming complete in yourself, when you're not trying to extract validation from your relationships, something magical happens. People want to be around you more because you're not draining them with your neediness. You become a source of positive energy rather than an energy vampire. Nietzsche called this transformation becoming who you are. Most people spend their entire lives trying to become who they think they should be, who others want them to be, who society tells them they should be. But your authentic self, the person you actually are beneath all the conditioning and expectations, is already complete. The work isn't to add something to yourself. It's to strip away everything that isn't authentically you. This is why the man who doesn't chase often appears to be doing less than the man who chases, but achieves more. He's not scattered across a dozen different pursuits trying to prove his worth. He's focused on expressing his authentic nature in the world. And that focused authenticity creates results that scattered desperation never could. The man who doesn't chase cares deeply about many things. The difference is that he cares about things that align with his authentic nature, rather than things he thinks he should care about. When your actions flow from authentic caring rather than desperate need, they become more powerful, not less powerful, but it's also the gateway to freedom. Nietzsche wrote, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." That chaos is the destruction of your false identity as someone who needs external things to be complete. And the dancing star is the authentic self that emerges when you stop chasing and start being. When you're not wasting energy chasing things from a place of lack, you have tremendous energy available for creation, for building, for expressing your authentic nature in the world. You become what Nietzsche called a creator of values, someone who doesn't just follow the crowd but creates his own path based on his own deep understanding of what matters. The man who doesn't chase becomes dangerous in the best possible way. Dangerous to systems that depend on his desperation, dangerous to people who profit from his insecurity, dangerous to any force that tries to convince him he's not enough as he is. This is why Nietzsche emphasized the importance of becoming a law unto yourself. Not because you're above other people, but because you've transcended the need for external validation that keeps most people trapped. Here's what happens when you truly embody this principle. First, you stop being reactive. Instead of responding to what others are doing, what they have, what they think of you, you start acting from your own center. Second, you develop what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of your own fate, your own path, your own unique journey. Third, you begin to attract rather than pursue. People, opportunities, experiences start coming to you because you've become someone worth being around. But the most profound change is internal. You discover that the peace, the confidence, the sense of power you thought you could only get from external achievements was inside you all along. You realize that chasing was just a sophisticated form of running away from yourself. And when you stop running, when you stop chasing, when you finally stand still in your own completeness, that's when you discover what real power feels like. This transformation requires what Nietzsche called a long obedience in the same direction. It means consistently choosing to act from abundance rather than scarcity, to create rather than react, to be rather than seem. The man who doesn't chase doesn't just become more powerful, he becomes more peaceful. He doesn't just become more attractive, he becomes more authentic. He doesn't just become more successful, he becomes more satisfied. Because everything he achieves comes from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness. Nietzsche saw that modern civilization was creating increasingly desperate, reactive, needy people, what he called the last men. But he also saw the possibility for individuals to transcend this mediocrity and become something greater, not through conquest or domination, but through the radical act of becoming so complete in themselves that they no longer need to chase anything. This is your invitation to join that rare breed of men who have discovered the secret of non-chasing power. The men who command respect not because they demand it, but because they embody it. The men who attract success not because they pursue it desperately, but because they've become the kind of person success naturally flows toward. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming, if you're ready to discover what it feels like to operate from true abundance rather than hidden desperation, comment sovereign below. This single word identifies you as someone who understands that real power isn't about what you can get from the world. It's about what you can give to the world from your own abundant core. And if this message resonates with something deep inside you, if you recognize yourself as someone ready to transcend the desperate chase that keeps most men weak, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm sharing next week will challenge everything you think you know about masculine strength. I'm going to reveal why the men who appear strongest are often the most fragile, and why true invincibility comes from a place most people would consider weakness. The path of the non-chaser isn't for everyone. It requires courage to stand alone, wisdom to see through social conditioning, and strength to be complete in yourself. But for those ready to walk this path, it leads to a kind of power that can never be taken away, because it was never dependent on anything outside yourself to begin with. Remember, true power belongs to men who don't chase. Everything else is just sophisticated begging, unique journey. Third, you begin to attract rather than pursue. People, opportunities, experiences start coming to you because you've become someone worth being around. But the most profound change is internal. You discover that the peace, the confidence, the sense of power you thought you could only get from external achievements was inside you all along. You realize that chasing was just a sophisticated form of running away from yourself. And when you stop running, when you stop chasing, when you finally stand still in your own completeness, that's when you discover what real power feels like. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires what Nietzsche called a long obedience in the same direction. It means consistently choosing to act from abundance rather than scarcity, to create rather than react, to be rather than seem. It means developing the strength to be misunderstood by people who are still trapped in the chasing mindset. But here's what makes it worth it. The man who doesn't chase doesn't just become more powerful. He becomes more peaceful. He doesn't just become more attractive. He becomes more authentic. He doesn't just become more successful. He becomes more satisfied. Because everything he achieves comes from a place of wholeness, rather than emptiness. Nietzsche saw that modern civilization was creating increasingly desperate, reactive, needy people, what he called the last men. People who have small pleasures, who avoid risk, who chase comfort and security above all else. But he also saw the possibility for individuals to transcend this mediocrity and become something greater, not through conquest or domination, but through the radical act of becoming so complete in themselves that they no longer need to chase anything. This is your invitation to join that rare breed of men who have discovered the secret of non-chasing power. The men who command respect not because they demand it, but because they embody it. The men who attract success not because they pursue it desperately, but because they've become the kind of person success naturally flows toward. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming, if you're ready to discover what it feels like to operate from true abundance rather than hidden desperation, comment "sovereign" below. This single word identifies you as someone who understands that real power isn't about what you can get from the world. It's about what you can give to the world from your own abundant core. And if this message resonates with something deep inside you, if you recognize yourself as someone ready to transcend the desperate chase that keeps most men weak, hit that subscribe button. Because what I'm sharing next week will challenge everything you think you know about masculine strength. I'm going to reveal why the men who appear strongest are often the most fragile, and why true invincibility comes from a place most people would consider weakness. The path of the non-chaser isn't for everyone. It requires courage to stand alone, wisdom to see through social conditioning, and strength to be complete in yourself. But for those ready to walk this path, it leads to a kind of power that can never be taken away, because it was never dependent on anything outside yourself to begin with. Remember, true power belongs to men who don't chase. Everything else is just sophisticated begging.